access the housekeeping cockpit via the side menu or landing page. All other features displayed are in our introduction video tutorial. For the purposes of this video, I will be the executive housekeeper at the property. As a department head, this is what I would do. I am on the current month, September. I review the figures from yesterday, and that I can easily do by hovering over the bar here, and I get a breakdown of exactly what is in the system. On the right hand side, I can click on the day and see the hours imported from the timekeeping system, and if I'm happy with that, I save it. The weather feature is activated. This is especially useful for properties with outdoor restaurants, bars, pubs, a swimming pool, and even properties which is near the airport. It displays the weather forecast. Dates that are written in the color purple means a national holiday. This is country specific and does not include Christmas Day and New Year's Day. There are two options in the cockpit: productivity and hours. Here's a breakdown of the daily hours from the actual schedule that's imported into PMI. Various indicators on this chart, for example, room nights, your smart forecast, productive hours, and so forth. Click a legend to activate it on the graph. Everything to the left of the black dotted vertical line are the historical hours and what the smart forecast was. To the right, the hours in the current schedule. I'm able to check if yesterday's figures are correct. If there is good alignment, great. However, let's deep dive into the figures. Here I can see that there was nothing extraordinary happening. No training or sick leave. We used 82.5 hours, a few hours less than the smart forecast. And looking at yesterday's amount of departure rooms and stayovers, we are looking pretty good. So what can we learn from the last 20 days? Are there days here where we were overstaffed or understaffed? Were all the rooms cleaned? Were all the rooms cleaned on time so that our guests could check in at 3 o'clock? How did this impact the guest experience? Did we get any feedback from the team or from the social media platforms? It's too late to adjust this now. However, is there anything we can do to improve on the results for this month? Is there anything we could consider to do moving forward? Can we leave departure rooms from Sundays and perhaps clean them on a Monday, as it's more cost efficient to do so? Should we be re-looking at the cleaning routines, ensuring tasks are completed as efficiently as possible? We could speak to the team and find out what their time thieves are. Can certain amenities perhaps be automated? For example, soap dispensers in the shower and hand basin instead of those cute small amenity bottles, as this too saves time and the environment. Perhaps look at the working schedules. Could it be more flexible with the starting and ending times so that our staff is here when it's the crunch times in check-out and check-in? Could we perhaps share workers with our sister hotel in the city? When last did I do something for the well-being of my team? When was the last time we had an occupational health and safety course for the team? Moving on to the future. This I can do something about today. The blue bars represent what is in the actual schedule. How aligned are the hours with the smart forecast? Are there differences? Let's take a closer look. Are there days that I am understaffed or overstaffed compared to what the expected departures and arrivals are? Can I move around the hours a bit so that I have the correct staffing levels where needed? A few minor tweaks here and there should be enough to get a favorable result at the end of the month. Best practice recommends looking 7 to 10 days ahead, and that would take me to the end of the month. Moving down further on the left here, you can follow the accumulated hours month to date or include the hours scheduled by month end. Choosing your local currency allows you to follow the accumulated labor cost per hour, which is calculated based on your reported total labor cost. Two more view options here. Total productivity. This includes productive and non-productive hours. Your non-productive hours are hours that are paid for by the property, but it was not part of your regular workday. So it could include PMI training, short and long-term sick leave, mandatory fire drill and evacuation training, and so on. The other, operational productivity, is the productive worked hours. On the right-hand side of the screen, you have the data table with all the relevant information for the month you are focusing on. Here you have the month-end forecasted hours. These are the hours you need to serve the forecasted cost driver. And the cost driver here is room nights from the previous day. So how to calculate this productivity target? You use the cost driver, which is the room nights from previous day. You divide that by the hours forecasted for the month, and there you have your productivity target. And this is exactly how many rooms per hour a housekeeping attendant cleans at the property. And to calculate the smart forecast, which is this yellow line on the graph, this would be your daily cost driver divided by the amount of rooms cleaned per hour. If we look at the figures, we see that our live forecast is just over 3,140 hours. We have so far month to date used 2,100 hours. And if we continue in this way, this is the amount we will end up using. So with a couple of changes I intend doing for the next 7 days, I should be able to align the hours so that it's within the forecast for the month. All these figures are updated daily from your property management system, PMS, to ensure you can make good decisions at any time. You can manually input hours here. If, for example, the hours have not been scheduled in your timekeeping system, or you've forgotten because someone is sick and you needed another person to work. However, changes you make manually here will not be reflected in your TKS. Also, all the hours from the schedule module will appear here. Use the note function as often as needed. This is a great way to keep track of unforeseen hours used on a specific day. It could be anything from staff on training or even sick leave. In this specific example, we had a flight cancellation. So we had 40 extra rooms to clean. So as soon as the comment is saved here, it appears automatically on the management perspective for the general manager to see as well. It's always useful to understand how we ended up with the result. A little bit more on the data table here. The red horizontal line, everything above is the historic days, your past days, and then everything below is all future days. The highlighted one over here is today's date, so that's always in a darker font. Here above, you see the timekeeping system here is called time plan, and here you can see that these hours have been approved in the system. And then looking for today and then tomorrow for the next 2 days, then you see that it's in the color red, and this is because it is future hours that has not yet been updated in the system. And another example, just to show you very quickly, this is a cockpit that has not been saved from yesterday, and as you can see here, the time plan hours, the timekeeping system is in red, so hasn't been saved yet in the system. You are also able to click on any past day on your TKS system, and here you get an overview of all the hours used and exactly what it was. Further down on the data table is your month-to-date figures. Here you see how you are doing so far this month compared to the forecast, and month-end to see what you will end up with if you want to continue in this manner. This gives you a quick glimpse into any major changes that may be needed for the rest of the month. Here you also have the current average rate per hour, including social cost. Be sure to check that this is correct as it affects the labor costs. Depending on user rights, this may be only visible for you as the cockpit owner. And here, the scheduled hours. This shows the hours added in your PMI schedule. Unspecified means that it's imported from the timekeeping system or only scheduled as lump sums, and that means without a name. And one last comment on the graphs. Here's an example of shifts that are missing for the day. Let's do a quick recap of the daily routines in the cockpit. Labor cockpits should be saved at least 5 times a week by the cockpit owner. Update your timekeeping system before working in the cockpit. Look at the current month. Check the hours for yesterday and do adjustments if needed by clicking on the plus sign. If you don't yet have a TKS system installed, you will need to add the actual hours manually. Click on the plus sign for that specific day and enter the hours. Then you need to confirm to update the cockpit. Check yesterday's hours and add your comments. Check the status of your actual productivity and hours month to date and status for the rest of the month. Confirm that if you are behind your month-end target, you will look into the live forecast and schedule and try to align the staffing according to the activity level. The hours used should match the total amount of rooms to clean. Moving on to month-end routines, this can be done on the first working day of the new calendar month. Look at the month that passed. Are all the hours complete? Did we reach the productivity target that was set for the month? Summarize the month by adding a general comment. You can write the comment on the last day of the month. Here can be what went well and what the learnings were. Update the current rate here with the actual outcome after the P&L is ready at month-end closing. This task could be on the financial controller's checklist, so be sure to check what your property's routines are. And as always, don't forget to save. More information on the Labor Cockpit can be found in our knowledge base article and video tutorial series. Thank you and take care.